you and me, we both made it to the first 1.19 pre-release.
Like a Hellcat.
If you have no idea what a pre-release is and want to know if it is any different from the snapshot, it is basically the same as a snapshot, although they come out more often and do not add anything new, like no new mobs, blocks, or items, or even biomes. Just a bunch of bug fixes to prepare for the full release, which will be happening in about 2 to 3 weeks. I would not be surprised if we know information about the release date of 1.19 next week. Pre-releases do not follow the regular snapshot canvas of releasing on Wednesdays, even though this one did, so keep an eye out for the next pre-release. Yep, pre-releases come out way more common than snapshots usually do, and as always, they are thanking the community for our feedback for this update, because it would be a lot of bugs in this if it was not for us reporting them. I would not be surprised if we get another pre-release tomorrow. That is just an example of how commonly you will start seeing them until the actual release. Anyway, let's get right into the video. This pre-release is pretty big. The first pre-release of updates usually is. I might just cover the other pre-releases that come out in the near future too, like 1.19 pre-release 2, and even the release candidates, but I will have a big video up for everything added in 1.19 on the same day of the release. So keep an eye out for that, and keep an eye out for other 1.19 pre-release videos if that happens. Anyway, let's get into the changes in this pre-release. There are 2 ways to put on your armor in Minecraft. You can just right click, and as you can hear, they make a noise. And as you can see, they do not make a noise. Well, that's because they never do when you take it off, but the change here is putting your armor on, just in your inventory, now makes a sound instead of being silent. But taking it off still has no sound. And other non-armor things you can put on your head, such as carved pumpkins and skulls and heads, now make a sound. And I believe you can right-click. Looks like you cannot right-click with these things. But yeah, you can put these on your head. You always could, but they're making noises now. And the carved pumpkins sounds the same as the heads. Pretty much. Not only does your armor now make noise when you wear it in your inventory, but it makes noises in other circumstances too, and I like this. Unfortunately, I think it may be a bug, so let's summon in a mob here to attack me, and listen closely, or look at the subtitles. You hear that? When something hits me, my armor clangs. Interesting. I'm not sure if this is a bug or not, but I really like it. Also, whenever I summon a mob, like listen closely, when I just summon a mob, it makes the sound too. Not sure why. It says gear equipped, and this skeleton does not even have any gear that it equipped. So, yes, armor now just has sounds. More sounds when you get hit, and when you put it on via your inventory. But it does not make clanging sounds when you fall from a high place, drown, or any of those non-mob damage things. I can show you one of them, just in case you do not believe me. So fall damage. My armor did not clang. It got arrows everywhere. Maybe I should have done like a zombie or something. This next change has to do with vibrations. Now this is also the case for the Warden, but as usual it is easier to show it off with just a simple sculk sensor. So, more things can now make vibrations, and there's ways to prevent them now. So if I were to grab a couple of things, actually way more than that, so many more things will now make noise, such as playing a goat horn, And if I just hold it down, it'll do it again. And drawing a bow. Releasing a bow. Using a spyglass. Putting away your spyglass. Start eating. Finish eating. Finish eating. Drawing a crossbow. Finish loading a crossbow. Shooting a crossbow. Holding a shield. Putting it back down the shield. And I believe this can also be prevented from crouching. Yes, it can. And all this stuff also works in the offhand too, so there is no cheesing this. Loading a trident. Throwing a trident. Although, most of these things can be prevented from just sneaking. So I loaded the trident, it did not hear me. Doing that, it also does not hear me. Same with drawing a crossbow again. By eating, if you finish eating, not start eating, it can still hear that. But it cannot detect you using your spyglass. Or drawing and shooting your bow, but it actually can detect you playing a goat horn. Well, I was not crouching there, let me try that again. Alright, so this time you can see I am crouching. And it made noise. Or I made noise. It detected me. So glad to see that there is more threats down there, you know? I mean, you are the threat, but you know what I mean, right? As we know, 1.18 made biomes look like this, all spread out in a vein-looking area with microbiomes created. This next change has to do with the mangrove swamp, but it is hard to show that change because of what 1.18 did to the world. So right here is supposed to be a mangrove swamp. It's just one tiny strip of it connected to a jungle. You can tell because look at the leaf color. But, of course, it continues this way and that way. Now, this next change may be good for you, may not be. I was concerned about it, but actually, while flying around off camera, I did notice that it was a pretty good change, and it should also reduce lag. So, they slightly reduced the number of mangrove trees in mangrove swamps, they meaning Mojang, and now there will be less mangrove trees in the swamps, so you can swim, boat around, and walk better in here. And hey, maybe that makes frogs spawn more common. Speaking of that, if you did not see my last snapshot video, which was the last snapshot for 1.19, I talked about some problems. And maybe the frog one is fixed, but the LA ones? Ooh, about that. If we just grab our LA and give it a lead, we still cannot give it a lead, so that is a big problem. Wish we could give it leads, you know? I think we were able to in earlier snapshots. But anyway, if you can tell, maybe not. There are less mangrove trees in the swamp. Maybe if you get a better look up here, I would do a single biome world to show it off better, but I want you to know what it'll look like in just a normal survival world. So you can definitely see some gaps, you can see a lot more mud from the sky now. I felt like there was just a bunch of mangrove leaves as the roof of the biome, but we are good now, and they always generate like that sometimes. Anyway, here's another example. You got no trees in that pond. And yeah, overall, I think it is better to traverse down there. Even though every time I climbed the hill, there was always barely no trees. But there are like little, not so much trees in the water now, which I think should change. Actually, I guess there is some. I wonder if there were more before. Anyway, as my world struggles to load in, I must say, that is basically it for this change. Let's walk around one more time. Oh, an azalea tree. I have not seen these in a while. So, the reason they reduced them, not only because of the traversing issues, but because, I mean, the roots can get crazy, so you pretty much have to break roots to traverse. Yeah, I kind of do not like these big of a gaps, but hey, cool. Still feels wild, if you know what I mean. For this last change, we head into the Nether. Now, this is a parody change. Bedrock Edition got this change a few weeks ago. The change here is Endermen, skeletons, wither skeletons, and piglins now spawn at a wider range of light levels in the Nether, from light level 0 to 11. Although I heard rumors that this is not the case for the piglin, and that of course is probably a bug, if that is true. Most people do not really do this like they do in the overworld, but if you want to prevent these 4 mobs from spawning in your nether base, if you have one, then you're gonna have to put a lot more light in there. Maybe those new frog lights that you have to drag frogs in here for, yeah, the frog lights. So maybe you can get your frog lights in the nether and then put them in your nether base to prevent these annoying mobs from spawning. Well, maybe the piglins are cool. You know, they barter. I mean, if you trap them, of course. Anyway, that is the change. Basically, more spawning changes, like kind of what we got in 1.18. But in the Nether. What is weird, though, is that Endermen have 2 different spawning properties. They have this in the Nether now, and now they can only spawn in light level 0 in the overworld. Kinda makes me wonder, what did they have in the end? I am guessing the same as the overworld, but yeah. That is the change. Frogs will no longer jump when tempted. That is when you hold their favorite food, the slime ball. So if I was not holding the slime ball, they would be jumping. If we just wait a little bit, you can see that the frogs are not jumping. They are just waiting to be fed. And if we feed them away from the water, I wonder what would happen. But once we let go, they should start jumping. Yep, that one did. But if we hold it again, they should no longer think about jumping. Punching a frog will also make it just run away from you, and as soon as I let go of the slime ball, they should start jumping. A few fixes with the tadpoles, or should I say a couple, so they will now follow you if you are holding a slime ball. Probably. I thought they were supposed to. I mean, it kind of is following me. Also, they no longer drop experience points when you kill them, but I would not do that, you know? Yeah, not really sure if they... Yeah, they keep swimming away and coming back, so I guess they are trying to follow the slime ball. The reason they no longer drop experience points when they die is because they are considered a baby mob, even though they are separate from the frog. Frog here. Tadpole here. The tadpole is just a baby frog, you know, like it is in real life. Let's now take a look at the pre-release changelog. You can find it in the launcher like you can with the snapshots, but I will also have it linked in the description down below. So here are the 4 changes I talked about. Here are more technical changes. They removed that rainbow chat thing. I am not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And of course, the thing you will be seeing the most these days for the pre-releases for 1.19 are a whole load of bug fixes. Now there are a lot, which is a good thing. Hopefully they all have actually been fixed. And yeah, also the elytra makes a sound when you equip it in the inventory too. Or dispenser, so dispenser works to make the sound of armor now. Skulk sensors now activate when a entity is summoned by a spawner, so like a dungeon room if you had a skulk sensor in there. And goat horn subtitles were not capitalized. They also fixed more spelling in this pre-release. And you also have this change, which kind of reminds me of that change in the last snapshot, where the wardens and iron golems will spawn on only solid things now. Anyway, this is the pre-release. I hope you enjoyed the video, and expect the next pre-release and all the next 1.19 pre-releases to be mostly bug fixes and not much of these changes. Now, if you do not mind, I'd like to talk about my predictions of the release date. So, releases for updates usually happen around 2 to 3 weeks after pre-release is start, and pre-releases have now started, and updates always come out on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. That is right, I always pay attention to even the hour. So, I have two predictions here. I think 1.19, the Wild Update, will either release on May 31st, so at the very final day of this month, or June 7th. Those are both on a Tuesday, and May 31st is 2 weeks away from now. Meanwhile, June 7th is 3 weeks away now. So, as I said, 2 to 3 weeks after pre-release is start for an update, you usually see the release. So that is my guess. You can thank me if I am right. Anyway, that is it for the video. If you enjoyed this pre-release video, please consider leaving a like on the video as it helps me and the video out a ton, and also consider subscribing and turning on post notifications so you never miss another Wild Update video from me or any other video I post on the channel. I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.